In the midst of suffering and slavery, God called a man to save his people. A story of faith, miracles, and the power of God. This is the story of Moses, the prophet chosen to free Israel from the hands of Egypt. The Nile River, the lifeblood of Egypt, was silent, but because of Pharaoh's hardened heart, Moses and Aaron came to him with God's command. "Let my people go, that they may serve me." But Pharaoh only laughed and scorned them. "Who is the Lord, that I should obey him?" At God's command, Aaron raised his rod and struck the waters of the Nile. In an instant, the clear river became a flood of blood. Fish floated dead, the air was filled with a foul smell, and the Egyptians fled in terror. Mothers wept, farmers fainted. The water in the palace turned black and murky. The Nile they guarded became a curse. His heart was still hard. He laughed at the miracle and said, "I will not give up. My magicians can do that too." And Israel remained slaves. They turned away. Moses did not get angry, did not lose heart, but there was a heavy heart. We will endure. God is faithful. Soon he will act again. 7 days passed. Again, Moses appeared before Pharaoh. "Let my people go," he said. But the king refused. So Aaron raised his staff, and from the river, thousands of frogs swarmed. They jumped into homes, kitchens, beds, palaces, even Pharaoh's throne. The entire kingdom woke up to cries of fear and disgust. Children were crying, housewives were screaming, priests were disgusted. No one could sleep, no one could eat, no peace. The land of Egypt seemed to have become a jungle of frogs. Finally, the king prayed to Moses, "Pray that this plague may be removed, and I will let you go." And when the frogs were gone, his pride was revived. "Stay, you will not leave," he commanded. Moses and Aaron follow. Moses looked up to heaven and whispered, "Lord, it's up to you. We won't give up." In the desert, Aaron raised his staff and struck the dust. And the dust of the earth became lice, so many, like smoke, that it spread into the air. The Egyptians and their animals were bitten. The priests could not cleanse themselves. The soldiers were furious with the itching. The whole land was filled with weeping and complaining. His magicians cursed and were furious. "This is the work of God." But even when Pharaoh heard this, his heart was hardened. "I will not be defeated," he cried. Moses and Aaron followed. They left quietly, trusting in God that he would not abandon Israel. Fourth plague, a globe of flies. Moses warned again, but Pharaoh refused. And a cloud of thousands of flies came, thick as a night cloud. They swarmed into the house, into the food, into the nose, into the eyes. Pharaoh's palace was filled with disgust and fear. But in the land of Goshen, where Israel lived, there was peace. Not a single fly. Here Egypt saw. God takes care of his people. Pharaoh's decision: go ahead, worship God, but only here in Egypt. But Moses replied, "No, we cannot. We are going to the place that God has appointed." Pharaoh immediately changed his word. "You will not go." Fifth plague, animal death. God warned again, "If you do not let my people go, your animals will die." The next day, the horses, cattle, and sheep all over Egypt died. Their fields became like a cemetery for animals. But the animals of Israel remained healthy and alive. Pharaoh's decision: he inspected the land of Israel. It was true, but instead of giving up, he hardened his heart again. 6. Boils. Moses took ashes from a furnace, threw them into the air, and all of Egypt was struck with painful, growing boils. The soldiers were stopped from duty. The priests could not approach their gods. The disease brought fear they had never experienced before. Pharaoh's decision: he became even more stubborn. He had no mercy for his people. 7th, ice with fire. A strange rain fell, heavy hailstones, accompanied by blazing fire. Crops were destroyed, houses were crushed, trees were snapped. People ran, screaming, looking for shelter. It was as if the sky had descended to punish. Pharaoh's decision. In fear, he surrendered for a moment. I am the one who has sinned. Pray for me. God stopped the storm, and again, Pharaoh went back on his promise. Eighth, the locust. At God's command, the locusts came, so many, like a living cloud. They ate the remaining plants that had not been hit by the hail. Egypt became a dry land like a desert. Nothing was left. Nothing was left. Forgive me. Go. When the locusts disappeared, his pride returned. He did not let Israel go. 9. Darkness. 3 days, pitch darkness. No light, no fire, no hope. But in the house of Israel there is light, there is peace. Go, go, but leave your animals. Moses refused, and Pharaoh shouted angrily, Don't show me again. You'll die if you come back. Moses replied, Yes, you won't see me again. 10th plague, death of the firstborn. The night was silent. Moses commanded Israel, Smear the blood on your doorposts. This night God will pass by. At midnight, a sudden cry was heard. The firstborn of every house in Egypt, from Pharaoh's throne to the lowest, died. The surroundings were filled with groaning and lamentation. Pharaoh was afraid, weakened, and finally gave up. Go and take the blessing of your God. And their journey began. A journey not just away from slavery, but towards the promised land that God had provided. And as Israel looked back at Egypt for the last time, it seemed they heard God's reminder. When I am with you, no sea will part, no king will bow, and no darkness will be dispelled. And to this day, this story reminds us that God is faithful, that in the midst of trials, when there is no way, He will make a way. This is the story of Moses. This is the story of Israel. And this is the story of God who is the same, yesterday, today, and forever.